And here we go, record. So, yeah, good morning. This is the third week of the Co-Thrive Thought Leader Jam session. Kathy Sipple here, and I've got Charlotte Wolf with me. We were just saying we're going to miss Stephen today. He's out of town. And Charlotte and I had a late night last night here in Valparaiso attending a permaculture workshop. So I'll admit I'm kind of dragging this morning, and you had an hour drive home after the workshop, so you're especially chipper to be here. But so thanks for that.
Sure.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really great workshop that Christine did.
It really was. That's we need more of that, and I'd like to. I didn't out and out ask her for her slides, but I would really like to get similar slides. And she mentioned that she just got them off of Google, so I'll just go on there and put together.
Yeah, you know, I did ask her outright for her slides, and she told me, you know, I especially like this one. Are you seeing my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, great. So she offered them then, or?
No, I literally did what she said. She said, just, you know, Google, you know, permaculture, 8 forms of currency, and it took me, you know, right to the slide. So I thought I would add this to my Poshterity budgeting workshop that I presented on Tuesday night.
Ah.
Can I show you some of that real quick?
Yeah, I'm interested in putting together a slideshow similar to what Christine had, and maybe having some elements of what you have, and possibly that slideshow could be shared in return for some time bank hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Or, you know, actually Mark and Jennifer, who were there last night, the Shell Hearts, you met Jennifer.
Yes.
They were taping her presentation. So perhaps, you know, she could do you one better. She'll have that actual presentation recorded to share.
That would be great, because
yeah.
I mean, this isn't something that I think a lot of people are going to pay money for, because it's more of a community service to be educating people about the stuff. And
right. Well, and I had asked her about that. I said, you know, I mean, as far as like what the time bank wants out of it, or members want out of it, if you're presenting a free workshop for the community, I'm like, hey, you know what, I'm all in. And actually, I'm glad I'm saying this out loud now, because I think I said that's something that I want Co-Thrive's name attached to. So I think I told everybody that was helping just to bill the hours to the time bank rather than to Christine, because I really wanted her to feel rich, you know, that she was enriching the community by doing what she was doing. So I'll have to check the flow of hours and see how that goes. But yeah,
a list of everyone who attended, that we could suggest this to them.
I'm sorry, say that again.
If we have a list of attendees, could we suggest that they join the time bank and credit Christine for an hour or two?
Well, you know, I definitely pitched the time bank, and I didn't have a whole lot of people come up to me to join, you know, so I feel like I did suggest that people join. Well, there were, I think, two people who I had already talked to previously. A guy that was here last Friday to clean out my air vents at our house. I had known him for some time, but he actually has, he told me on his way out the door that he has a screen printing, or whatever you call it, screen printing equipment. He said he spent like $10,000 on it or something like that. And he would like to make that available to the time bank.
Wow.
And I thought that would be super cool. Like I would actually like to get the, you know, Co-Thrive logo maybe on some t-shirts or tote bag or, you know, whatever. We could kind of start doing it actually for the time bank, and it would promote the time bank. But yeah, so anyway, they're not in yet, but that would be a super fun thing. Well, anyhow,
could you running through your slides, because I have some ideas about this slideshow here that you're
the Poshterity thing. Yeah. Why don't I just kind of go through it, and you know, I'll give you a little mini session. I won't do the whole thing, but the whole reason that this thing came about is because this week is World Creativity and Innovation Week. Did you know that?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's based on Leonardo da Vinci's birthday, which I think was maybe April 15th or 16th, and that kicks things off. So there's a group up in Michigan City called the Center for Creative Solutions, and they have, I don't know for how many years, done this week-long celebration, just kind of celebrating innovation. I'm going to be going to a breakfast that they're sponsoring tomorrow morning. I'm going to an event tonight that's hosted by the Society of Innovators. Anyway, so they said, what can you do that would be innovative? The event was originally supposed to be happening in the Uptown Arts District in Michigan City. So they wanted something that would support artists, that would support my project, which, I chose the Time Bank. I've got a lot of different projects, and that also would kind of promote their area. They thought, do something interesting and innovative enough that people might drive there to go to it. And so this is what I came up with, was poshterity budgeting, living more richly on less, because in your tagline you say hungry people are grumpy or something like that.
Yeah, hungry people are grouchy.
Grouchy, yeah. And it's like, we always hear the term starving artist, and I thought, okay, if I really focused on artists, how could I show them things that they could put together, including time banking, but to get more from less. So for context, number one, for this whole idea, the name poshterity budgeting, and for the support in the larger framework, I have to give credit to the Mutual Aid Network out of Madison, Wisconsin. They were founded by this woman, Stephanie Rurick, who I mentioned in, I think, the next slide. She was a time bank coordinator at the Madison or the Dane County Time Bank, but she saw, eventually that time banking was just one gear, in the whole machine that was needed to propel a community. So they have this larger context that I'm kind of growing toward. They are a mutual aid network, and CoThrive in turn is a member of their mutual aid network. So they're a network of mutual aid networks. So that's the man. They kind of have some fun with that. They say, we're working for the man, but not the man how we're used to thinking about, the slaving away with the man.
Well, now, when you say that CoThrive is a member of man, did you mean the Time Bank is a member of man, or CoThrive?
Well, I think I joined the man before there even was a time bank. So
okay.
I felt like we were so in alignment with what we were trying to do that I just kind of, gave them the membership fee, and I was like, I'm in, and so far it hasn't even been an annual thing. It's just kind of a one-time thing.
So
but
organizations can join the network.
Yeah. So that might even be something you'd want to look into. It's a really interesting, group of people. So I'm not expert at what they do, but I have listened in to some webinars. I've not made it up to Madison to go to anything in person yet, but I heard a talk, I think it was last August, on poshterity budgeting for the first time, and I just loved it. I thought it was so great. So
I have a good friend who lives in Madison, so if you ever need a place to stay.
Oh, cool. Thanks. I think my biggest thing is just finding time at this point. But so I kind of, every story has to have its characters. So I thought, let's personalize it, make it the man, and then the three sisters. And I know you know what the three sisters is, but it's
Love it.
In the Native American tradition, corn, beans, and squash. And that's what, really inspired the CoThrive logo, although it's admittedly quite stylized. It might not be very recognizable as corn, beans, and squash. But Scott, who was on last week, he's actually the one who did this logo. So that's kind of a nice continuity. And I told him I wanted the corn in there, the beans, and the squash, because the idea is that planted together in the same space, they actually thrive better than they would in a field of all monoculture corn or monoculture anything. They form a guild, they help one another. And then, of course, I couldn't let it go without having the worms, as the caduceus, which isn't technically part of the Three Sisters, but I think a little worm soil couldn't hurt anything.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I don't know where I'm going to put this slide, but I just got this from Christine last night. I thought, this is just such a great slide to
And
just redefine, wealth. There's so many.
Who to credit this to, or
I don't. I'm going to have to look a little harder. It wasn't right on the slide. I will try harder to find that. But evidently, this is kind of like a main permaculture thing. So she kind of went through all the different kinds of capital. I'm not going to go through each, kind, but typically most people think of just financial capital and money when you hear currency or wealth. And, I'd say the time bank really helps with the social capital. It helps with, intellectual capital for sure. Some experiential capital maybe as well. And, who knows? I guess it just depends what people are getting out of it, but they could be experiencing other kinds of, wealth or currency, even as they swap time. So this is Stephanie Rurik that I mentioned, and I don't know how well it would sound. I guess I could try it. You want me to try clicking on her video to see if it would work? Tell me if you can hear it, and if you can't, then we won't do it.
Yeah, no.
Oh, great. It's, I can't skip the ad. Here we go. I'll skip the ad, put the sound back on. And so she was at an international conference, I believe in London.
My name's Stephanie Rurik, and I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, United States, and I founded.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it, Charlotte?
It's not real good.
Not really. Okay. Well, I'll just kind of summarize what she is saying. She's there attending this international conference to represent Madison and the Time Bank, but also, the man. So she said that one reason that she was so passionate about developing community currency is that she herself is a musician. She wants to be able to live in a community that values her work. And typically in the United States, when money starts being scarce in times of recession or even in personal, financial crunch time, the arts are the first thing usually to go. They're the first things that get slashed. So she just needed to devise a system where her type of work was valued, appreciated, and she just said, if anybody in the community is capable of teaching a child that wants to learn piano lessons, what a dumb reason for that not to happen is that the parents just don't have money. So with time banking, you can make it happen, and you start that richness in a new generation. I'm totally paraphrasing, but anyway, that's that. And then, just like Christine had everybody close their eyes last night, I was like, okay, this is a very text-heavy slide, but I wanted people to close their eyes on Tuesday night and just think about it. Like, what would it look like if everyone were doing work they loved, what they felt called to do? What if everyone had the opportunity to build their skills to the maximum capabilities and then apply them to making their communities whole and beautiful? Mutual aid networks are a new type of networked cooperative, creating means for everyone to discover and succeed in the work they want to do with the support of their community. Through the humans united in mutual aid networks, a global umbrella cooperative, all pilot sites and members share their tools, experiences, and resources. So together we demonstrate that the economy is what we make it. I think that really nails like what I'm trying to do with the Co-Thrive Cooperative for Business and, the Time Bank. The Time Bank has been done. The Co-Thrive Cooperative, the online, co-working, it really is a pilot. I've not found another one. So I've been thinking that I really need to maybe submit that as a pilot to the man, and maybe they could help me, hammer out some of it and whatever. So hold me to that. Well, yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
And so, the mutual aid network is their logo. They've got these gears above the guy's head, and these are the gears, that Stephanie talks about. And we're not going to go into all of them for this. We're just basically going to look at time banking, and robust budgeting is another name for, posterity budgeting, and also sharing, because it's just so easy to share. But so many people think of it as like a kindergarten thing, like, oh, it's nice to share. But, sometimes you put some websites or technology to it, and it makes adults feel like they can share as well.
Sure.
So this, again, I give credit to the man. I got this from them. If you need something for your life or your project, take it from the top. So you start with whatever is most abundant, just share it. I mean, Charlotte, you're a farmer, obviously, but some home gardeners, you grow tomatoes and all of a sudden you got a bumper crop of tomatoes. Like, you can't give them away fast enough. They're going to rot if you can't, can them, give them away, do something. So there are times when you do have stuff in such abundance that it's just like, just share it, just take it. And then, when things are a little bit more dear to you, like my worms, I'll take as an example. You wanted to pay me last night for the worms that I gave you for composting. And I was totally willing to just time bank those or swap those because you and I have, history. You're a member of the time bank. I don't need to get money for those. They're a regenerative currency for me. The worms do all the work or most of the work, but I do want to put some value on them because otherwise I feel if I just give them away, then people just think, oh, I can just go back and get more any old time. And like, they don't value the worms. So I value the worms and I want to put some kind of credit. But so things that are regenerative that we value, but we don't need money for, that's kind of a good thing to time bank or swap. Now, I have not even gotten my big toe really too much into these next things like price-based mutual credit. That's when money kind of enters the picture. So if you were, I think the example Stephanie used was maybe like a restaurant. Oh, I'm not even going to go there. It's, somebody buys equipment and it receives
actual money being paid.
Yeah, they receive maybe time in exchange for that, money. That definitely is a taxable event. Other things happen, and I feel like we're still kind of getting our feet wet with the time banking and the swapping. So we're getting there. I'd love to get there. Savings pool is actually where you purchase tools or resources in common and share. So I'd say we have actually done a little bit of that. I mean, I bought the developer's license for the affiliate software, for instance. And although it wasn't exactly a savings pool, I mean, I did it and then I'm kind of going back and accepting help to do it, whatever. We're getting there. But then I kind of like that they saved F for if all else fails, get an effing job.
Oh, gosh. I don't know that that might get a little controversy.
Yeah, it's a little edgy, but I think it's just, most people think first get a job and then buy everything that I need, So, I mean, I guess if you just look at through that context, like, would you maybe have to work a little less hard or could you save more of the money from your job if you shared, swapped, did all these other things first? So that's really the idea of it, is not just, people shouldn't work or have a job, but how much more rich are we really if we look beyond that money earned from a job?
I guess I do have a question. Maybe it's a devil's advocate question about that ranking, and that is, the subject of taxes has been in the news a lot, and taxes, I think people overlook the meaning and the reason for taxes. The taxes are not a penalty that we incur. Taxes are a way to redistribute wealth to create our mutual infrastructure. So, for example, roads that we all travel on, whether we have a car or a horse and buggy or whatever type of transportation we use, we travel on our streets and our roads, and our taxes pay for that infrastructure. Our water for the city, wastewater treatment, all these things are needed things that we need, and there has to be some kind of provision for providing us with these mutual things. Now, I guess the savings pool would be
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking, that's a great way that you just framed it. And it is more like a savings pool, that we're collectively saving to buy these community assets in a way. It's just that the government is the one that's, loving them and making it happen. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And hey,
in parentheses in that quadrant of the triangle. I don't know.
What's that?
If you wanted to explicitly put taxes in that sector D as, you know, that's a reasonable mechanism for collecting the money that we need for society.
I'll probably recreate this on my own. Like right now, I just, I was like volunteering to do this thing on Tuesday night. So I took, liberally from the Man, and I'm crediting them, but this was like their graphic.
This is theirs.
Yeah, this was theirs as well. But good point. So I'll take that under advisement. And if I do this again, I will definitely at least include it as a talking point or add it explicitly. But
well, right now, the taxes are generated through the job, through our income taxes. So if we are in this sharing economy, perhaps there's another mechanism that we could be providing. I don't know what other mechanisms there are. Maybe there are already some mechanisms in place in that savings pool. But if you don't have a job, you could be labeled as someone who's not contributing to our infrastructure and not paying taxes if you don't have an income and you're not paying income tax.
Well, if we go back to, the Man is, doing the work that you love, it doesn't mean, okay. And when I hear get a job, that's a job, 40 hours a week, you're punching a clock, you're working for the Man. I mean, I don't feel like I have a job because I work for myself. I pay taxes, although I work for myself, I have work that I love, but it's not a job that somebody else defines. Okay. So that's really what I see as a job is something that somebody else defines for me versus me creating my work and having, sort of creative direction over my life. So I do pay taxes. I'm not exempt from taxes, although I don't see what I do as a job. Does that help at all?
Yeah.
So there's paying work, but I think if you take the pressure off paying work, not to look like I had to, submit a resume and I had to, jump through hoops to get this job. I could be fired, like I earn money you've been my client. You've paid me previously my market rate, you signed up to work with me several years ago. Since that time, we've worked together in different ways, but there are definitely a lot of people out there that pay me a pretty good buck to do consulting, right? So right. With that, I pay taxes, but it's just, I don't do that for 40 hours a week, which allows me to do all kinds of other creative projects like what we're doing right now.
Right.
Does that help?
If all else fails, get a full-time job maybe.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean don't work for pay, but again, going back to, what the mutual aid network has as part of their huge, mission statement is, what if everybody was doing work they loved, So even as a piano player, I'm sure Stephanie, gets gigs where she's paid a good rate, to pay at like a wedding or whatever. But if she wants to play original music and not really care who comes to the concert and have time to create that because she's able to draw from these other resources, she doesn't have to wait for those, good gigs or only do weddings or whatever, So
well, in my situation with visitors to the farm, I have many visitors who do have the resources to pay me cash for what I do. And that allows me to accommodate the low-income children or the ones that get free lunch. I guess those are considered in the elementary school. And they can come without paying. I have some that pay.
So I would say in the F zone down on that inverted pyramid, we're really talking about the soul-sucking work, the work that you would really rather not be doing, but the work that you have to do for pay. That's what I would kind of see as a job. like when, you know, you hear an entrepreneur about to give up their dream, they're like, oh, if I don't get this off the ground soon, I'm going to have to get a job. You know, they wouldn't be wincing if it was a job that they loved, if it was work that, you know, honored what they were about. So, I mean, down there at the bottom of the pyramid, I just feel like it's the people that are only working for pay that have to do what they have to do to pay the bills. You know, they're not enjoying.
Recreate that graphic. You could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not enjoyable job.
Yeah. Or just, you know, again, I feel like it's punching a clock. I mean, when I hear JOB, it doesn't, I think there's tons of other work you can do for pay that doesn't exactly equal. I would never describe what I do as that I have a job. Doesn't mean I don't work, but I mean, I love my work, you know?
Right. So distinction between work and job.
Job. Exactly. Okay. So anyway, well, let's get back to sharing because this is so easy, but you know, I just gave a few examples. Indiana Hope Center. Have you ever been there?
No.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but I love it. It is a place down in Grovertown. How far is Grovertown from you?
Not far.
Not far? Okay. It's like 35 minutes for me. So maybe we could like meet down there sometime.
Yeah, about the same.
Yeah, but the way I understand it, the way that this thing works, everybody is welcome. It was started by a Christian businessman who owned a transportation company, and he had quite a few grocery stores as clients. And he realized he was trucking their food waste and just taking it. It didn't look like waste to him. It just looked like food, you know. But he was picking up from grocery stores and taking it to the dump or taking it to the landfill.
Oh.
And so he started to reach out to them and brainstorm and say, is there some way that we could make this not go to the landfill and instead feed people with it? And so food that is like, you know, coming up on expiration or food that has been, you know, like relabeled or repackaged, you know, that was just taken off the shelf because it didn't look like the other things, they now are able to take to this place. So you'll find like freezers. There's way more freezers than there's no fresh produce, or at least there hasn't been the 3 times I've been there so far. They're like dry goods or frozen. Those are pretty much it. But you'll find like frozen meats, frozen cheeses, things like that that were frozen before their expiration date. And so, you know, they couldn't really be sold in a regular grocery store, but you pay $5 to join, and then it's, you know, you're paying for the stuff at really bargain rates, and that helps them be able to afford. Hey, Scott Mason, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome, Scott.
Morning.
Good morning. We were just talking about you with the logo. You were mentioned on a previous slide.
Oh, okay.
So I think you met Charlotte last week briefly, right?
Right. Yeah, I was in the mix.
Yeah. So I was just showing her a recap of a presentation that I did Tuesday night. So if you don't mind, I'll scoot through this.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. This one is going to be, you know, non-local for you. So this would be a ridiculous far way for you to go. But everything else I think applies no matter where you live. I would love to see, you know, centers like this pop up everywhere because I just think it's such a great model. So what this businessman did is work with groceries to get food that was, you know, right at expiration, and instead of taking it to landfill, take it to the store where they freeze it, make it available to anybody. You don't have to be in need or anything like that. In fact, everywhere around the place it says, thank you for your support, thank you for your donation. So kind of like the time bank, they call it donation. And it's all volunteer run as well. So I told them the other day when I went, I would love to volunteer there. I want to see you guys really succeed. So anyway, you know, I've been telling a lot of people about this place. Sharon is a Time Bank member who is an artist herself, and she actually lives at the Art Barn. So the day after I told her about this, she headed down there and she said, thanks so much for telling people about this place. I can't remember the last time I got 4 huge bags of groceries for $40. High quality stuff too. It's not processed junk. So, you know, she teaches nutrition and she's pretty picky. She has a 6-year-old daughter. She's definitely not going to feed her daughter junk, but she was very happy with the stuff that she got. The Shell Hearts that you've met, Charlotte, Mark and Jennifer, they went down there the day after I told them about it. They were so happy with the prices that they bought $50 more worth of stuff to take and give to people who, really needed it, like to the food bank or whatever. I was so obsessed after the second time that I went there that I actually looked up retail cost of all the items that I got and just figured out like what it would have cost me. And, I kind of cut it off where the savings dropped to like 83%. But at the top, you can see it's 100%. On your way out the door, they just say, hey, please help yourself to some free, the free items are over there. So there was like bread and yogurt and stuff like that.
Cliff bars are valuable nutrition.
Exactly. And
They were throwing those away?
What's that?
They were throwing those away.
Yeah. They were throwing all this stuff away. I mean, all the stuff. And like Trader Joe's coconut milk, the only reason that I can tell that was there is that they changed the packaging, because when I looked up these retail prices, the can looked different,
You got 53 of them?
Yeah, they were 10 cents a can. They're usually like $2.30 something cents. So I got like 2 whole cases for $4.80 plus some random cans. And then I went back with my mom the other day and we got even more. So it's crazy. So
I know who to come to for coconut milk from now on.
Well, yeah, or I mean, you can go down there, and the things change, every time, because they're just, you can't really shop there like you would a normal grocery store. But here's one of my Cliff Bars where I bought an entire box of 12 for $2.
Oh my goodness.
In the grocery store, they're like $1.50 each if you buy them singly. So when I did this workshop on Tuesday night, I had an entire spread on a table, and I asked people to guess how much I had paid for. I had dessert, I had a meat platter, I had a cheese, board, crackers, and, these sparkling lemon sodas. I should have taken a picture of it, but guess how much I paid for all of that? Under $10 for the entire spread to feed the whole room of people, I mean, you feel like it's the loaves and the fishes. So although it's not free, it kind of, unlocks that kind of, giddiness. Like there were these lemon sodas that I bought they were 10 cents for 4. For 4.
Key lime curd.
What's that?
Key lime curd.
Yeah.
Like lemon curd. That stuff is like $10 a bottle.
I know, it's ridiculous. So anyway, I could gush on and on about this, but like so far the people that I've shown this, they're like, oh my gosh, that's life-changing. So my idea here is not that we all stop supporting, local food producers, but how much happier would we be to pay for organic and local if you feel like you got your basic needs taken care of? I mean, Charlotte, as far as I know, you're not going to be cooking me organic, loaves of bread. So if I can get my daily bread given to me, all of a sudden that really eases my my food budget, and I feel real good about going to the farmer's market or joining a CSA or being able to afford, more to support local, because I can't have the excuse I can't afford to eat. You
Right.
can obviously.
You're talking about like for the fresh vegetables and fruits, you can pay a higher price to get organic local.
Exactly.
The rest of your grocery budget is by this
But this
waste.
But this really honors my sensibility as, a food waste composter as well. And I this is probably not a very politically correct thing to call it, but I call it dumpster diving with dignity. Like I saw the movie Dive. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it's about people that actually dive into dumpsters on the night after these grocery stores were throwing stuff away. So they showed people that were making like these gourmet meals out of stuff that they rescued from dumpsters behind grocery stores. This guy has figured out a way to like get there before it comes to that. And how much more dignity it is. I mean, my husband would probably kill me if I actually was dumpster diving or if I tried to serve him anything, from a dumpster. This just takes that out of the way. So anyway, that's a super cool way to save. And then the other thing is FreeCycle. Have you guys ever used FreeCycle?
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Scott? This is everywhere, or I think pretty close to everywhere.
Yeah, I haven't used them. Certainly, there's a recycling company in Milwaukee that has a pretty good list of things they'll take or pay for. So I've used them. But the free cycling, certainly if you've got usable goods rather than just dumping them, which is the easiest thing, finding someone that can use them is a great idea.
Yeah. And like I've definitely listed stuff. The things I've got here are actually things I posted and asked for. So, since this presentation was about food and just kind of showing anybody, but especially artists, how they could eat more affordably, I asked, simultaneously on the same day, if you have a fruit tree or berry bushes with fruit that goes unpicked every year, I'd love to come and pick it, just don't let it fall. And then also canning jars, because guess what? When I pick all that stuff, I got to put it somewhere. And so if you've got canning jars, they're just collecting dust, I'd love to have them. So this was on July 5th, and you can see from these dated responses, this is July 6th, the very next day, contact me. I have a bunch I was getting ready to take to Goodwill. Now, I don't want to divert stuff from Goodwill. I think they're perfectly fine. But, it's like this person was not valuing it. They just wanted to get rid of it. They were happy to give it to me. And then another completely different person, a few hours later, I have some jars I don't need. They're this size. How many do you need? I ended up getting 400 jars from like 5 different people. Now, I don't need 400 jars. So now all of a sudden, I have these in abundance and I can share with food swappers. So it's a thing that actually in some of our stores locally a few summers ago, people were running out. I mean, there were canners that literally couldn't go to the store and buy jars because they were just out. And all of a sudden I had stuff that I could share because I'd gotten them for free, so that was really fun. And then, of course, because I love the free food and I love nature, I started making a map of all of the different wild edibles that are available in my neighborhood, just so I can kind of remember, what I found and where. And I love taking people in the time bank out to help them discover, what they can do. Some people that are very afraid of foraging, I start them on the Cornelian cherries at Ogden Gardens because, number one, they're labeled. It's a public park where all the trees actually have labels. So sometimes I hear people say, well, I'm afraid of foraging because I think I'll pick the wrong thing and I'll poison my family. Like, well, you know what? These groceries actually have labels like the grocery store, so you're not like in the wild exactly, botanists put this here. And I've talked to the park director and asked him, do you mind if I take this? And he's like, Kathy, look at the sidewalks. Otherwise, these cherries fall on the sidewalk and it's a mess. He's like, pick them all, take them. It's great. So anyway, that's certainly a fun thing. So then with all that free food or almost free food, this is kind of fun because you can diversify your stuff through swapping or time banking. So Food Swap is something I love, and I'm trying to get started in South Bend, where Charlotte is. Scott, do you have any idea if you guys have Food Swap in Milwaukee?
I would think so, but I haven't interacted with that community. I'm sure there are, certainly with home brewers and all those that go on, that there's people that are probably doing it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said homebrew because I have a slide on homebrew.
I see that.
Yeah, but foodswapnetwork.org or .com, I think, is where all the various food swaps are listed. So if you haven't heard of it, it's just such a fun thing. In Northwest Indiana, we're on our 5th year, and we generally are meeting every other month. Every now and then we do a pop-up event that, maybe at Christmas time, we'll have a special, sweets or cookie event, or sometimes we might do like an entree event in addition to these. But it's really fun. And so the way it works is you can take anything that's homemade, homegrown or foraged, and you can swap it with other items. So this one, in that inverted funnel is not just sharing what's in abundance, like, hey, I have 1 million tomatoes, take them, or I have falling fruit, just take it. This, we are putting value and we're swapping. So usually what the organizer does just a few days before the event is she asks, people to share what they're bringing. And what I have seen really cool that happens is people kind of self-organize. And if somebody says, well, we can't do nightshades in our family. You know, somebody will say, well, I'll make some enchiladas with the tomatoes on the side, or, you know, I don't have to put tomatoes in all of them, or, oh, you're vegan, I'll put the meat on the side, or I'll put this on the side. You know, people just start kind of cooking for one another. Or if you were going to make hummus, but somebody else says they're going to make hummus, then you don't make hummus too. You know, it's like, it's just a really, really cool way that people kind of work together to maximize the results. And for me, obviously, out of the homemade, homegrown, or forage, what do you think I gravitate toward?
Your jams.
Maybe a little bit of the foraged, right? So these plums, these have a special place in my heart because I feel like the treasure map to these plums were deeded to me by another Co-Thrive member, Deb Landry. She's been on a few times. She's an artist who moved to Georgia, and she told me that she would always see these green plums up at one of the local parks, but she could never catch them when they would turn purple. And I'm like, Deb, where are they? You know, so she gave me the map. I went up there the very next day. Sure enough, I found like these green plums, tried one, and they were perfectly sweet. So these plums never turn purple. This is just what they look like when they're done. You know, so from these green plums, I made that green sauce that's on the top slide. It was called Tekmali sauce, and it's kind of like a Russian ketchup or something that's made from tart green plums. It was delicious. And then the other ones are the cornelian cherries. It's, Charlotte, you have like Persian heritage. This is like a big Persian delicacy, but most people in America don't eat these tiny, weird little cherries. They have a big pit. They're almost like the size of an olive, but you can just can them in their own syrup and eat them like you would an olive, spit out the pit, or you can make a sharbat, which is what I made on the left. It's like this cherry syrup that you can, put with a fizzy water, and it makes like a nice, adult beverage on a hot day. So I took those items to the food swap, and you kind of say what you've got there, just like going to, let's say, a silent auction or something. You say, hey, here's what I've got, and then you open it up to bidders. But instead of it being the highest bidder in terms of cash, they might say, hey, for your crabapple chutney, I will give you a jar of blueberry jam, or I'll give you a loaf of bread. So people do their bidding, and then at the time when everybody's kind of had enough chance to look and see what's all there, the organizer will say swap, and then it's mayhem, but it's such fun mayhem. You just go and you do your trades. So what I took home from all those foraged items was this. I got homemade salsa, homemade hummus, homemade black bean salad. I think there was some red pepper spread. There was some kind of jam, a loaf of bread. I mean, it was just beautiful. And kind of to the point, Charlotte, where I said, when you feel that you're getting your needs met in all these nice, affordable ways, the meat and the cheese at the front were not through the swap. They were through the hosting food retail place. And I would always try to buy items from her while I was there to honor her for supporting this initiative. And because I felt like I'm getting such a good deal on this other food, I can pay more than I probably would normally feel comfortable for locally produced, cheese and meat. So it's a lot of fun. And then the other thing I love is that after the swap, the fun remains. Like people, usually post their food on Instagram. Oh, here I am at this restaurant. I am so proud of like the meals that I eat that are food swap provided. I had this home beer or home brew from a guy who lives here in Valpo who's won awards locally for his home brew. I used to make home brew, and Scott actually made the labels. He designed the logo for my Legner lager back in the day. And do you know, Scott, my mom still has that bottle proudly displayed. Yeah, she has it proudly displayed in their kitchen above their cabinets. So, but I thought this was pretty cool. Although I have a husband that's a great cook, on this night, 2 other husbands in the community provided our whole dinner. Like Kurt made the chicken enchiladas and the black bean salsa, and then Rick made the homebrew. So it's not just a chick thing. Like, guys are getting into this, and people are sharing and loving on the food, and it's just so cool. And it seems like it's just tipped the scales recently that the guys have joined in, but I love their enthusiasm. Kurt's like, okay, I just killed the the egg cups from Rick. Great breakfast, dude. And it's just like people are giving each other props all week long, and you feel like it's almost a virtual commune in a way, that we're enjoying these, homemade meals. So I loved food swapping so much that I kind of felt, all right, time banking. I think our community could support time banking. So the very first person, or one of the first people that joined the time bank, was my friend Tanya, who is a vegan. She makes these raw vegan desserts. I mean, she's been all over the world and learned, culinary techniques. And she made this, I think it was a sweet potato pie, shown here, that's raw and vegan. And so I asked her, or she asked me, I think, to teach her about wild edibles in exchange for one of her pies. She was like the perfect person to get the thing started, because I posted this picture, and soon after that, here's a guy saying, I would totally take a pie or an edible adventure hike in exchange for computer help. That pie looks amazing. So she was feeling good. She was a little bit shy about sharing, her skills. And this is actually Steven's girlfriend, Charlotte. You've met Steven. Well, you guys have both met Steven. So that's who Tanya is. So it's just fun. You never know where it's going to go. And then, although, again, I love to cook, there are days when I work in Chicago and I'm gone like 13 hours, between all my commuting time and being there. I don't have time to cook. If I had to just, rely on what I would do from home, I might end up ordering, pizza that night, which wouldn't be healthy for me. It would be more expensive. In this case, my friend Sarah brought us homemade lentils with mint, spinach salad, home-baked feta cheese stuffed bread. Yeah, and homemade dressing and Greek yogurt. I think we also had fruit salad, not shown here. But in this case, what I did was I actually paid her for her groceries. So I ended up paying her the actual cost of her groceries, which I still remember was $5.63, which I thought was the best $5.63 I had ever spent. And she also delivered this to my house because she happened to be on her way to get a photography lesson from Jennifer Shellhart, who lives like a mile from me. And she's like, you know what? I was already making this for my family, so I'm only going to charge you 1 hour of time for my preparation and delivery for this, and only the cost of the groceries, which, again, because she was already making it incrementally, she felt that was a very fair cost. So I thought that was pretty cool. So how do you put it together? It's great to have these individual trades, but some things that we've done, that were a little bit more collaborative or as a group that I'm proud of, I call it making a mushroom market. So because I love wild edibles, I've been showing a lot of members, how to hunt for mushrooms. And the very weekend after I showed Tara and her husband JD how to find maitake mushrooms, I think they found like 18 pounds or something like that. And they were calling me, asking me, do you want some mushrooms? I'm like, my entire freezer is like full of mushrooms. I can't put in any more mushrooms. I can't cook any more mushrooms. I can't preserve any more mushrooms. They had their fill. We were at the abundance level. We were at the sharing level. We were beyond that. Like, we need to do something with these mushrooms. So I reached out kind of based on having met a guy when I went to the farmer's market in Chicago. I'm down there for work occasionally, and probably the only, farmer's market that has like Calder and Picasso, sculpture in the background. It's this hoity-toity kind of urban, farmer's market. But there was a guy there with a huge mushroom, very similar to the one we just saw on the last slide. And I said, I've never had a maitake mushroom, which was true at that time. Could I just buy a little petal? He said, oh, no, ma'am. This sold before market opened. I'm like, how much? $400 for one mushroom. And I'm thinking, okay, I just spent almost 2 hours to get here on a train. I'm going to be here in an office all day doing work I love, but they're not paying me that much more than this guy's getting for one mushroom before the market even opened. Would I rather be traipsing through the woods of home or, on a train with these business people all day long? And I'll tell you what, though I love my work, I would rather be mushroom hunting. So I started reaching out to local chefs, and this woman shown here is the proprietress from Uptown Cafe in the downtown area where I live. And the red arrow is pointing to the very first check that we actually got for the time bank. So she bought those extra maitake mushrooms. This is just one box, but there were, I think, 3 or 4 boxes like this. And shown right next to the check is my Indiana mushroom license. So I did get licensed to do this through the state, through the Hoosier Mushroom Society. You do generally have to have some kind of certifying body to say, yes, this is really safe. It was, collected legally, safely, all of that. So after that first sale, we actually started getting other chefs asking us for mushrooms. And Chef Barry from the Shoreline Brewery in Michigan City wanted some mushrooms for a farm-to-table dinner that was happening at the Lubeznik Center for the Arts, and wanted like 15 to 18 pounds. It's one thing to find 18 pounds and then sell it. It's another to find them on command for that day, fresh for that day. So I had found 7 pounds or so on my own, and then I cast a little help bulletin out to the time bankers, and I started getting leads on mushrooms like, hey, meet me over here in Portage. We did a parking lot deal. Have you guys met Phil before? Charlotte, you've met Phil, I think. Yeah, he found some. He gave some to me. I was still short though. So my friend Sarah, who made the lentils for me, she said, I think my friend Laura has mushrooms. This is Laura's house. So like 10 minutes later, I'm at Laura's house, and this was my mushroom hunting grounds. So how beautiful is that, number one? So nice. Laura ended up having a huge mushroom, and she said, well, what's this time bank? I think I'd like to join. So instead of receiving money for her mushroom, she said, well, just take my mushroom. Would this pay for my time bank fee? Yes, it would in this case, So we were able to sell her mushroom to Chef Barry, and that very night, this was the mushroom dish that he made and served at that farm-to-table dinner. So I thought that was pretty cool. And isn't it neat how the colors are kind of similar too? It's like those autumn leaves or those autumn, colors just made it right into the pan.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we've sold to other chefs since then, and, we're doing it. And then just last night, Charlotte attended a workshop that was led by the newest member, Christine. And, she joined on April 3rd and said, hey, I'm going to do this permaculture class on April 19th. How can the time bank, help me get that done? So basically I said, all right, let me introduce you to Dale. She made a poster for my event. Dale, was the member who joined right before Christine. She whipped up a poster for her. And I just love this. Christine said, my heart is so full of joy and excitement right now. Thank you for connecting me. She just really felt loved and supported for her project. So besides that, I use some of my social media magic. And when I took this slide, we had reached almost 3,000 people. I think it was almost 4,000 people by the time she did her workshop last night. Now we only had 25 people or so, attend, but it's really hard to get that kind of reach when you're doing your own event. But because we had so many people that were, throwing some love at this, I think that's why we got there. And then we had another time bank member do the, here's the poster, when another time bank member yet do the recording of it, that kind of thing. So hopefully you can see how if you turn to sharing, if you turn to time banking, all of this stuff, you can use this Poshterity budgeting workshop to slowly reduce your drain on valuable resources like cash to better address, needs like food. Food is number one, on this thing, but, also education, also help. Things that you might have otherwise had to write a check for, you can get members of the community to help. Granted, it takes a little while, but measure your baseline, check your progress after year one, and just keep, pushing yourself to see how you can get creative and get to, something else. So anyway, of course, I make the ask to join us, and to me, it's a very, very good deal to join. Anyway, that's my talk, and I see I'm almost out of time. I'm sorry, I was really chatty Cathy this morning.
No, that's great, and I'm glad you have this recorded because I have several people I'd like to share this with already.
Good. So, this is my vision for the world, is that we care about one another, we use what we have. And I just think so many adults especially think that, it's not cool once maybe you're out of college or something that you can't be asking for help if you're not a starving college student. And I'd really love to change that and say, why not? You know, somebody's got it and they want to share with you. You know,
Well, and a lot of people right now are either by choice or by default are out of the market economy and the market jobs because the jobs aren't necessarily there. And so this is a way to sort of harvest some of the waste in some cases, literally, our larger economy to try to increase efficiencies of our economy. So I think economists would get on board with this by saying, hey, yeah, sure. If you can see a niche where there's not an efficiency, then create yourself some income or in-kind services, then that's perfectly within our economic model.
So I have a hit for Scott because I know he messaged me some time ago and said, you know, I'd like to support it financially. I would love for you to join because I would love to hit you up to ask you for more help, but I won't do it just as a friend and lean on you. But just last night at the workshop that Charlotte and I attended, there was a guy and his wife who told me that he owns screen printing equipment.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I would love to do, you know, tote bags or T-shirts or something like that with Co-Thrive.
Yes.
Either Co-Thrive Collective or Co-Thrive Time Bank or something like that on the merchandise, you know, because then that will become stuff that people will see in the community. If people are shopping at farmers markets and going, where'd you get that cool Co-Thrive tote bag? What's Co-Thrive, you know, to be able to talk about what it is, like, you know.
Well, and if people join the time bank, you could offer them a tote bag for an extra $10. They could have the tote bag.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'm going to take a page out of the NPR playbook. I love NPR anyway, but I want to show my nerddom.
Level of support, you get a tote bag.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to be the MC at Earth Day this year. So that's on Saturday at the Porter County Expo Center. I'm going to be the MC for all of Northwest Indiana Earth Day. And I get to be at the mic and just be like preaching, you know, earth care all day long. And I don't want to sell anything, but I want to say, hey, if you'd like to support my podcast, 219 Green Connect, or if you want to support the Time Bank at this level of joining, you can get fill in the blank. So I'll have my books there that are about vermiculture. I'll have my books there that are about time banking. I'm going to have Anne Marie. You know, you've met Anne Marie with her. She calls herself a spiritual cartoonist. She's got a line of earth care greeting cards. So, you know, if you join at that certain level, you can get one of her cards. But yeah, I mean, I can't do tote bags by Saturday, but next year, I think that would be a good goal, you know.
Certainly, I think I sent you the logo, so actually you probably have what you need already. But certainly, you know, tote bags would be something easy to do, and doing a local screen printing, if you're coordinating all of it, you can get a pretty good price, I think.
Okay, well, and I know you work with a friend who does, you know, some screen printing. I've never done it. James has this equipment, and he said he has no idea how to use the computer. So I may have to find somebody else yet who can help with that. So I don't know why he purchased a $10,000 piece of equipment. He has no idea how to use it, but whatever. We'll figure that out. You know, I want to rescue this from being some behemoth beast that he's got in his, you know, garage and not using, to trying to figure out a way to co-thrive and use it creatively in a way that will honor, you know, his investment and co-thrive too. So
well, and I know that our time is closing, but I wanted to make sure that we talk about affiliate marketing. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the development of mutual projects. And you mentioned having specific dates that we would talk about, you know, and try to get interest in our projects. And I did make some progress on my low-income kids visiting the farm project. So
yeah, well, let's talk about what that would look like. Number one, you know, we said that this would be kind of the feeder, to the Lumio event. And by the way, I don't know if you guys have seen the Seed documentary, but right now it's on PBS that you can watch it in its entirety for free. Seed, the Untold Story.
Yeah, I wanted to watch that.
I put that on my Facebook last night, but yeah, Lumio is the place where we can kind of continue the threads of thought. And again, this is free to anybody who wants to join the Thought Leader Jam session or who's also a member of the Time Bank. So Scott, this is another reason I really want you in there, because our Facebook group, you know, I was letting anybody in there just to kind of let them figure out what we were about. I wanted it to be very open, but for this, I want the people who continue, you know, these threads to know that they can honor one another with Time Bank credit, you know, so this can be a way that we can fuel these bigger ideas. So I did start one for affiliate marketing. Charlotte, you can certainly start one for, you know, like farm visits, or if you just want to call one farm, you know, farmers brainstorming, and then have some sub threads, you know, under that, whatever you want to do.
So basically I just need to start a thread. Okay, which I can try to do. Let me have that as my homework.
Okay. If you could start a thread, that'd be great. And then I think, you know, to make it a true jam session, it would be great to invite some other people that we think could shed a light on it, you know? So if there were some other farmers we could invite or what have you, I think that could be cool. But if we don't have anybody else to jam, I will jam with you. You know, we can do it on that. But yeah, so what you would do is, let's see. Yeah. If you want to claim, like there was no topic or question presented for this week, you can put out there, you know, for next week, here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how to get people, you know, to my farm, or how to support more low income or visits to my farm from, you know, low income kids. I mean, this can be used for anything that you want to devote a jam session to.
Okay. So place a topic on jam session calendar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if it's, I think that would absolutely make the most sense. And Scott, same for you. If you've got something you want to explore, feel free. You can put it out there, and, you know, as well qualified as I am to jam on it, I will do it. But if I know in advance a little bit, you know, what it is you want to talk about, then I'll try to get creative and invite people that I think are going to be better than me, or have, you know, maybe more relevant ideas around that topic, and see who we can bring in, so that, you know, we're constantly mixing new ideas around things that are topical or kind of niche, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. No, that sounds good.
Cool.
How do we get the podcast that you just recorded for the last hour?
Okay. See where I've got video link to recorded meeting? You just,
Okay.
it's not there yet because I have to process it, but, you know,
Gotcha.
from the first week, from the second week, they're right there. And I'll have this one, you know, by just a little bit later today.
Okay.
And if you want to invite others to this, you just can share this link, bit.ly/CoThrive Jam, and it will take them right to this page. So anybody, literally anybody, can join this. And I really want to cast a wider net.
Yes, I know you do. And I'm sorry, sometimes you have to like do it for a few weeks.
Yeah, you know, that's okay. That's, you know what, don't worry about it. That's why I'm going to do this consistently. This is the one thing I said I would do consistently, because I know with too many moving pieces, it can get a little, you know, confusing. And honestly, I'd love to see if, you know, Christine might even be willing to join us to recap what she did last night. I don't know if she would do that, but that was a really good program.
Yeah, that's, and maybe a little more nudging for her to just share her slideshow rather than reinvent the wheel.
Well, yeah, again, I mean, Mark recorded her session, so I'll see what the recording looks like. If there already exists a great recording, then maybe we don't need to, you know, redo it. But yeah, I mean, use the space
and put it on here or something.
So is there anything that we would like to look at next week? Do we know already? Anything?
I would be willing to try to gather my contacts for for next week. Yeah, I would be willing to try to do that. And I'll post it on here though, so I can get the wording the way I want it. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking if you go a little bit broad,
okay, so maybe more to farming in general. Okay.
Well, I mean, how to get low-income kids to your farm. I mean, it helps low-income kids. It helps you.
How about just helping kids with IEPs in general? IEPs is individualized education plan. These are the kids that we're targeting.
Okay. I definitely need you to bring thought leadership in that area because I don't know who in my network has that. So while I want to help you, well, you know what? There was a lady. I might know. I don't have a great idea. Right this second, but I guess one thing I'm thinking, Charlotte, is we've kind of tried to get like the food swap off the ground, for instance. So we've already started that in motion. Like, what would it take to get the people that we've already kind of invited to move that forward, get them to a jam session?
Yeah, that's definitely another topic. I kind of hit a little bit of a brick wall on that, but
okay.
I'm in the process of thinking about that. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't have to be next week, but if you want to use, to me, it's like, this is what this is for though, is like what have we started and we didn't get to finish, but we're going to use open space. So I'm going to just be quiet now and not make this the Kathy show. I really need to get better at just letting it be self-directed. And Charlotte, can you say a little bit about the rule of 2 feet?
Well, you basically can move away, in this case online, move your fingers away to a place where you can better contribute. If you're not feeling like you're contributing, you can, like I just moved away and I'm typing on the document instead of listening, putting all my focus into listening.
And that's okay. And so, but what I also like is that this is supposed to be, open space technology. So it doesn't have to be me. I mean, anybody can lead. If, at some point, I guess I can't make it, or, I am going to see absolutely no way that I can contribute to the topic, I may deputize somebody to be the leader, so that's the rule of 2 feet that I may have to invoke at some point as well, that everybody.
Why is this coming up twice?
I'm copying, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to create more. Oh, I'll get rid of this one.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Sorry.
You copied the blank, but after I already put something in.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry about that.
No problem at all. No, I was just trying to kind of get a few little homes for future dates so we could, think ahead.
Well,
but
yeah.
Scott, is there anything that you are itching to work on? Because I'd love for you to be able to suggest some stuff too. What's on your mind that you would like to do?
Right, it's too scattered right now. I just don't have a particular focus. I like I said last week, is I see little things, and then just recently a friend of mine is trying to get a growing program in her local school. I think she's a teacher, and she was applying for a grant, and the grant needed signatures. So, I clicked on that, and, if they get in the top 20, then they might, get considered for this grant. So it's all up in the air, but, trying to figure out what would be good to jump in on.
Cool. You know what? There is a time bank member who might very well be able to help with that. Dale, who I already mentioned, that helped for the poster.
Okay.
She attended a workshop with Will Allen from Growing Power up in Milwaukee. Did I talk about her already?
I think you might have mentioned her name. I've got notes from last week.
Okay. And through that program, she learned so much that she brought it back to Michigan City, where she lives, and she started a program called Growing Up Green.
Okay.
And so, I mean, she's just got a lot of experience and information and passion around that kind of stuff. So, I mean, she managed to get funding. You know, it's been very successful in Michigan City. So, I don't know. That might be a help. But feel free to, like, you know, claim a spot, invite your friend. You know, I'd love to get some good stuff going on up there too.
Yeah, no, I'll try to keep an eye out for something that might work, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then certainly get my membership up to date and then go from there.
Okay. Otherwise, you know, I've always got ideas, so I'll probably always think of something, but I'd love to have other people, you know, get a chance. Cool. All right, guys. Well, so Charlotte, I would say affiliate marketing,
Oh yeah, we can put that on there too.
yeah, I mean, let's make that a focus. And Barbara Kane has taught affiliate marketing. So I've asked her already if she'd be willing to teach a segment. To me, that would be like a good webinar that we could do, you know, so Barbara would teach up the why, the how, and then like I could throw out the, you know, the software part, right? And you can always, hopefully you saw this on the Co-Thrive Collective as a business member, you can, you know, request a session with me anytime that our schedules align. That's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, right, because I need to get
So I don't,
email blast for my camps. I didn't do that yet because we couldn't figure out how to get the group blast for all the events at once.
okay, so please use Co-Thrive Collective time for that because you're still paying for that and I'm willing to help instead of me trying to guess when is best for everybody because that didn't seem to be working. I've just asked for you to request time with me and we'll set up a whole hour with you. So if you just visit Co-Thrive Collective, you should be able to see that information on how to do that.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, I got a boogie for now, but thanks you guys. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks a lot. I'm glad to see you guys and hope we can get some more folks involved now that we are sharing the link more.
Yeah. And you know, what I'd also love to maybe look at, Charlotte, is your work that you've done around Transition Town.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting and that seems to really be all encompassing. So, you know, if you've got some people that you've spoken to in the past around that and that needs some reinvigoration, is that a word? Whatever that word. Yeah. I think that would be a really cool topic too.
Yeah, I'd love to get that going. I have a Facebook page and we did a conference, but we just haven't had much follow-up. I guess I shouldn't say that. There's follow-up, but it's maybe not labeled transition.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.